Hey everyone, this week's video is about week 37 for the Hearthstone card design competition, and this week's theme was something called Giants. So we had to design a card that had if its mana, health and attack was added up, it would total to 20 or more. So what we have here is the Royal Guard, which is an 8 mana 6/6 taunt battle cry. Gain +1/+1 for every card with Overload that you played this game. So this card is essentially a little bit of love for shamans, because if you look at shamans as a class, they're one of the least played in the game at the minute. In tournaments they're very rarely played, they are the least played, at least currently at the time of making this video. And even in constructed, I'd say shaman and rogue are probably the two classes I see the least out of all of them. So this card tries to make something good out of something bad. Overload is a system that I feel, and a lot of pros feel, is too punishing for shamans. It's too much of a drawback. So this gets something good from that drawback. So an example deck that I have made here is this mid-range shaman. I tried it out on ladder the other day. It turns out to be a little bit too slow, so you don't establish anything early game quickly enough, and then you just lose. But it has some good examples of cards with Overload, commonly used ones anyway. So in this particular deck we have 2 Totem Golems, 2 Lightning Storms, 2 Fire Guard Destroyers, a Doom Hammer, and Neptulon. So those are all of your cards in this deck that overload, which means that you have quite a few opportunities to buff this card. And the idea of this card is that you play your cards with Overload throughout the game, and you know, let's say by turn 8, if you do play it on turn 8, there is a good chance that you could have overloaded maybe 3 or 4 times by then. And if that's the case, you have an 8 mana 9/9 taunt or an 8 mana 10/10 taunt. And the way this card should be viewed is something really big that's just thrown in at the end, and if you can't deal with it you kind of lose. And it does actually stop aggro like dead in its tracks. It's not an answer to aggro at all because it's way too slow, but if you've re-established board control and then you slap this thing down on the board, it's game over if they can't deal with it, because there's no way they're going to attack your face. So other example cards that use Overload but are not in this deck, commonly used ones anyway: Lightning Bolt, Crackle, Feral Spirit, and Lava Burst. Lava Burst more so in aggressive decks like the Mech Shaman. But those are the other commonly used ones. You could make a strong argument for Feral Spirit being quite good because it helps you establish something early on. Helps stop the aggro early on, which is when you need to stop the aggro. You need to establish something early. In a more updated version of this mid-range shaman deck that I showed you, I removed the Totem Golems and put in place Haunted Creepers instead, because they're really annoying to deal with, and they give you something to, you know, for your Flame Tongue Totem to use. And then we've got Neptulon thrown in right at the end of the deck as well. So I really like Neptulon. I think he's good in a mid-range deck. He sort of refills your hand with stuff, and Shaman suffers really badly with card draw problems. That's another reason why they're not played. 2 main reasons being Overload and problems with card draw, which is why they're not being played. So something you can compare the Royal Guard to, 2 cards specifically you could compare it to, would be the Ancient of War for 1, and Deathwing. Now, let's say you live in a world where you manage to get your Royal Guard as a 12/12 and you drop it in the super late game. It's actually pretty good in a control matchup in that sense, because if you can't deal with a 12/12, as proven by Deathwing, you lose. You just lose the game. It's too much damage, it's too much health, and this would be a 12/12 with taunt. So this card does have a lot of weaknesses. It's very weak to Big Game Hunter, and it's very weak to Silence, but I still think overall it's quite a big threat. And quite a decent card, and surprisingly strong. So hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.